Hi, in this video we will see male reproductive system, assessment of male fertility, various guidelines involved in the preclinical toxicity evaluation of male reproductive system. So, male reproductive system involves external organs as well as internal organs. So external organs includes penis, scrotum and testicles, whereas internal organs, which are also called as accessory organs or glands, which are the vas deferens, then prostate and urethra. Among them, testes is the main organ, and particularly three glands which are mainly required, and what their functions are we will see in the upcoming slides. So these three glands are seminal vesicle, prostate, bulbourethral gland, or which is also called as Cowper's gland. The male reproductive system is responsible for sexual function as well as urination. So these organs do the following jobs within your body. They produce, maintain and transport sperm and semen, which is the protective fluid around the sperm. Also, they produce and secrete male sex hormones. They discharge sperm into the female reproductive tract. So, the production, maintenance and transport of sperm and semen is done via scrotum, testis, epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicle, prostate gland and bulbourethral gland. So what scrotum does is, so we will see function of each one of them. Scrotum is responsible for the normal sperm development. The testis must be at temperature slightly cooler than the body temperature. Second is testis. Within the testis, seminiferous tubules are there which are responsible for producing sperm. Epididymis, it carries and stores sperm cells to bring the sperm to maturity. Contractions force the sperm into the vas deferens. Then vas deferens, it transports mature sperm to the urethra. Seminal vesicle, it makes a sugar rich fluid, that is fructose, that provides sperm with a source of energy and helps with the sperm ability to move. Then prostate gland, prostate fluids help to nourish the sperm. Then bulbourethral gland, it lubricates the urethra and to neutralize any acidity which is present in there. Next function is to produce and secrete male sex hormones, which is done by the testes, particularly Leydig cells in the testes. So it makes testosterone, which is the primary male sex hormone. Other function of this reproductive system is to discharge sperm into the female reproductive tract. It is done by use the penis. So semen which contains sperm is expelled or ejaculated through the end of the penis when a man reaches sexual climax, that is called as orgasm. When the penis is erect, the flow of urine is blocked from the urethra, allowing only semen to be ejaculated at orgasm. How does the male reproductive system function? So, the entire male reproductive system is dependent on hormones. Primary hormones are follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone and testosterone. So, follicle stimulating hormone, okay, so these are all produced by the, that is particularly follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone are particularly produced by the pituitary gland, which is located at the base of the brain. So it stimulates the production of testosterone, and that is help for the spermatogenesis. That same job is done by follicle stimulating hormone. So these are necessary to continue the process of spermatogenesis, that is testosterone, and development of male characteristics including muscle mass and strength, fat distribution, bone mass and sex drive. What are the functions of follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone in the male reproductive system? So gonadotropin releasing hormone convert from hypothalamus is converts, or particularly in the hypothalamus anterior pituitary, which is a part of the hypothalamus, is responsible for releasing two hormones, that is FSH and LH. So FSH stimulates Sertoli cells to inhibit two hormones, that is inhibin and spermatogenesis, which controls the spermatogenesis process via negative feedback mechanism, and Leydig cells, which are responsible for testosterone, which are also negatively controlled by the anterior feedback mechanism through anterior pituitary. So in the right section, right top figure, we can see the figure of testes, and within this there are so many lobules are there, and into them there are seminiferous tubules. So I have in the right bottom figure, the cross section of testis has been shown, where the spermatogenesis process occurs. So this each lobule, or this one round, is seminiferous tubule present in each lobule. Okay, so this cross section I have shown particularly in order to know where the Leydig cells are and where these Sertoli cells are. So Leydig cells are present in the interstitial fluids, which are responsible for the producing responsible for the release of testosterone, whereas Sertoli cells are present at the base of the seminiferous tubules, which stimulates testicular growth, and androgen binding protein, which is responsible for sustaining the maturity of sperm cell. So spermatogenesis, how does it occur? Sperm cells are continually being produced by the testes, but not all areas of the seminiferous tubules produce sperm cells at the same time. One immature germ cell takes as long as 74 days to reach final maturation, and during this growth process there are intermittent resting phases. So I have shown by this arrow that spermatogonia, that is present at the basement membrane of the seminiferous tubules. So the immature cells, these are immature cells which are called as spermatogonia, derived from cells called stem cells in the outer wall of the seminiferous tubules. So stem cells are composed almost entirely of nuclear material. The nucleus of the cell is the portion containing the chromosomes. The stem cells begin their process by multiplying in the process of cell duplication known as mitosis. Okay, half of the new cells from this initial crop go on to become the future sperm cells, and the other half remains as stem cells, so that there is a constant source of additional germ cells. So spermatogonia destined to develop into immature sperm cells are known as primary sperm cells, which consist or in the nucleus of them, that is of primary spermatocyte, there are 46 number of chromosomes. After a resting phase, the primary cells divide into a form called as secondary sperm cell, that is splitting of the nuclear material forms secondary spermatocyte, which contains 23 chromosomes in their nucleus. As there are in the egg, when the egg and sperm combine, their chromosomes unite. The characteristic of both individual blend, and the new organism starts to grow. So still that secondary spermatocyte must mature before it can fertilize an egg. So changes in the shape and form of the sperm cell is required. Nuclear material becomes more condensed and oval in shape. This area develops the head of the sperm. The head is covered partially by a cap called the acrosome, which is important in helping the sperm to gain entry into the egg. The tail is derived from the secondary sperm cell's cytoplasm. Okay, so major events in the life of sperm involve spermatogenesis, mitosis, meiosis. Spermatogenesis forms head, midface, tail, then capacitation, then lifespan of spermatozoa. puberty through life, then 30 into 10 raised to 6 sperms are produced per day, then 60 to 75 days for sperm production, then 10 to 14 days for transport into the epididymis, and then 20 to 100 million per milliliter of ejaculate is produced. So, spermatogenesis is a complex process, hence multiple studies point out various dysfunctions depending on the development state at which the exposure occurred, that is fetal, perinatal or pubertal period. Perinatal means period of time when you become pregnant and you up to a year after giving birth. Male reproductive system dysfunction. It is of three types, that is testicular structural disruption, then spermatogenesis disturbance, then sperm quality will be declined. Semen analysis or semen testing, or which is also called as sperm count. These are series of tests that looks at how healthy a man's semen and sperm are. You may need this test if you and your partner haven't been able to conceive, or you may also need this test if you have recently had a vasectomy. A vasectomy prevents pregnancy by keeping sperm separate from semen during ejaculation. Your healthcare provider can use this test to find out whether the vasectomy was successful or not. What other tests can be done? These are genetic tests or tests on your endocrine glands. So, the number, shape and mobility of sperm are important for testing for male factor for infertility. A low sperm count is often referred to as oligospermia. Total sperm number and sperm concentration. The terms total sperm number and sperm concentration are not synonymous. Sperm concentration refers to the number of spermatozoa per unit volume of semen and is a function of the number of spermatozoa emitted and the volume of fluid diluting them. Total sperm number refers to the total number of spermatozoa in the entire ejaculate and is obtained by multiplying the sperm concentration by the semen volume. The generalization that total sperm number reflects testicular sperm productivity may not hold for electroejaculates from men with spinal cord injury, those with androgen deficiency, or for samples collected after prolonged abstinence or partial retrograde ejaculation. Determination of sperm number comprises the following steps. It is done by WBC counting method, so it requires hematocytometer chamber, then calculating the concentration of spermatozoa per ml, then sperm count will be calculated as sperm count into 50,000 sperms per ml. What is sperm motility and how does it affect fertility? Sperm health is an important factor in a couple's ability to conceive. There are 6 main criteria for healthy sperm, that is volume, motility, shape, ability to pass through the cervical mucus and make it to the egg, acrosome reaction, zona pellucida binding and nuclear decondensation. Sperm also need to have the right number of chromosomes for a successful pregnancy. A breakdown in any of these criteria can result in male factor infertility. Sperm motility and pregnancy. Healthy sperm motility is defined as sperm with forward progressions of at least 25 micrometers per second. Poor sperm mobility, it's also called as asthenozoospermia or asthenozoospermia, means for this terminology a very slight difference is this: asthenozoospermia then asthenospermia. There are different types of sperm motility issues, including slow or sluggish progressive motility, then non-progressive motility, which is defined as anything less than 5 micrometers per second, and no mobility. Initial macroscopic examination involve the following steps, that is semen analysis should begin with a simple inspection soon after liquefaction, preferably at 30 minutes but no longer than 1 hour after ejaculation to prevent dehydration or changes in temperature from affecting semen quality. Terminology is related to motility. The motility of each spermatozoa is graded as follows, that is progressive motility, non-progressive motility and immotility. Progressive motility means spermatozoa moving actively either linearly or in a large circle regardless of speed. Non-progressive motility means all other patterns of motility with an absence of progression. For example, swimming in small circles, the flagellar force hardly displacing the head, or when only a flagellar beat can be observed. And immobility means no movement at all. Sperm vitality method. Sperm vitality, and as estimated by assessing the membrane integrity of the cells, may be determined routinely on all samples, but is especially important for samples with less than about 40% progressive motile spermatozoa. This test can provide a check on the motility evaluation, since the percentage of dead cells should not exceed within or the percentage of immotile spermatozoa. The percentage of viable cells normally exceeds that of motile cells. So vitality test is done using eosin nigrosin stain. This is dye exclusion method, which is based on the principle that damaged plasma membranes found in non-vital, that is dead cells, allow entry of membrane impermeable stains. The normal ranges for each procedure are, so all volume will be 2 to 5 ml. Liquefaction time, or the amount of time it takes your semen to go from and form a gel like substance to a watery substance, is about 12 to 20 minutes after collection. pH or acidity should be in the range of 7.2 to 7.8. Sperm count should be at least 20 million per ml. Then sperm motility, or the ability to move rapidly, will be 60 to 80%, which is actively moving. Sperm morphology, or sperm shape or size, should be 70 to 90% normally shaped should be there. If your results are different, you may have decreased fertility, but it's possible for men with lower sperm counts to be fertile and men with high sperm count to be subfertile. Semen analysis results determined by WHO are somewhere, the ranges are somewhere different, like total sperm count in ejaculate should be 39 to 928 million, ejaculated volume should be 1.5 to 7.6 ml, sperm concentration should be 15 to 259 million per ml. The total motility, including progressive as well as non-progressive, should be 40 to 81%. Progressive motility should be 32 to 75%, and sperm morphology should be 4 to 48%. Guidelines for reproductive toxicity risk assessment, that are OECD guideline 421, ICH guidelines, and OECD guideline 416. OECD guideline 421 is for reproduction or developmental toxicity screening test. ICH guideline S5 are 3 guidelines on reproductive toxicology, detection of toxicity to reproduction for human pharmaceuticals, and OECD guideline 460 is for reproduction and developmental toxicity, that is extended one generation reproductive toxicity study guideline. So reproductive toxicity guideline number 421 is for reproduction, which is fertility and weaning, and development means embryonal and fetal development. ICH guideline S5, this guideline recommends the use of information about the pharmaceutical and the patient population in order to perform only those studies essential to evaluate the stages for which there is insufficient knowledge to inform about the risk to reproduction and development. And OECD guideline 416 for extended one generation reproductive study guideline determines toxicity during preconception, development of embryo or fetus, and newborn adolescents and adults, with specific emphasis on the nervous, immunological, and endocrine systems. Also assess maternal and paternal toxicity. To allow detection of immediate and latent effects of exposure, the observation should cover one complete life cycle from the mature adult through all the stages of development from conception of one generation to conception of the following generations. So, OECD guideline number 421, that is for reproduction or developmental toxicity screening test. This guideline is designed for use with the rat. It describes the effects of test chemical on male and female reproductive performance. It is updated with endocrine disruptor endpoints, in particular measure of anogenital distance and male nipple retention in pups and thyroid examination. Males should be dosed for a minimum of 4 weeks. Females should be dosed throughout the study, so approximately around 63 days. Mating should be done for one male and to one female. It should be used in the study. At least 10 animals of each sex should be used, and at least 3 test groups and a control group should be used. The results of this study includes clinical observation, body weight and food and water consumption, estrus cycle monitoring, offspring parameter observation or measurement, thyroid hormone measurement, as well as gross necropsy and histopathology. Because of the short period of treatment of the male and histopathology of the testes, an EPD damage should be considered along with the fertility data when assessing the male reproductive effects. ICH S5 guideline on reproductive toxicology. The initial step is to determine if reproductive toxicity testing for each of the various reproduction stages is warranted, and if so, what are the most appropriate studies to conduct. The consideration should include the target patient population and duration of dosing, the known pharmacology of the compound, the known toxicity of the compound, any existing knowledge of the impact of the target on reproduction risk, and data from in vitro and non-mammalian assays that could be relied upon to identify hazard or risk. Reproductive and developmental toxicity testing, that is extended one generation reproductive toxicity study guideline, says that parental generation is dosed for a defined pre-mating period and a 2-week 27 mating period. Parental males are further treated at least until weaning of the F1 generation. Then treatment of the parental females is continued during pregnancy and lactation until 30 termination after the weaning of their litters. The F1 offspring receive further treatment with the test substance from weaning to adulthood until postnatal day 32, 70 or 90 depending on their cohort assignment. If a second generation is triggered, the F1 offspring will be maintained on treatment until weaning of the F2 or until termination of the study. Endocrine disrupting chemicals, mechanism of action on male reproductive system. So what are endocrine disrupting chemicals? These are exogenous compounds that can cause disturbance in the endocrine system. They can interrupt other hormonally regulated metabolic processes, particularly if exposure occurs during early development. 4 main modes of actions of the endocrine disruptors on male fertility includes estrogen pathway disruptive chemicals, androgen signaling pathway alterations and influence on androgen sensitive tissue, evaluation of steroidogenesis dysfunction, which includes steroid hormone biosynthesis pathway, which is targeted by endocrine disrupting chemicals, and fourth is destructive role of reactive oxygen species on sperm production or function. So we will see the remaining part of the endocrine related mechanisms in the upcoming videos.